Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to continue on the tradition that I only started yesterday and film my favorite floral notes and the fragrances that feature them in my wardrobe. I'm not really copying that. I was tagged on Instagram by Service Fragrance. I'll link his channel in the description to make a video and talk about my favorite floral fragrances. And I was inspired today because I only just finished watching Making a Stinks video on the same topic. So I'm going to kind of follow the same format Camille and Chris did in their video, except obviously I'm going to choose some different fragrances. Florals, when you to maybe a guy who's new to fragrance, florals might be associated with perfumes marketed to women specifically, but when I was looking through my perfumes here, of course there are florals that traditionally have been used more in fragrances and perfumes that have been marketed specifically to men. Now, I'm not going to talk about gendering fragrances and anything like that. Let's just talk about these particular notes. And one of those notes is, of course, lavender. Now, I know Making a Stinks video featured the classic Caron Pot en Homme. I'm going to actually feature a more modern classic in my eyes take on lavender, and as my review on this perfume mentions, this is, by the way, Mem by Bogue Profumo. Get my tongue out of my throat. Mem features lavender, and it's almost like a multi-dimensional lavender. You basically get all the facets, all the parts of the plant in this one, and not to mention as well that lavender isn't, although it's the main character of this perfume, lavender is not the only floral that features in this fragrance. There is jasmine, there is things like ylang ylang, amongst many other things, but they're the other main floral notes I get. This essentially to me is a floral, really it's a floral complex Chypre style perfume, and it's magnificent at showcasing lavender as a floral note in its absolute entirety. So the next featured floral note I want to talk about is geranium, and this is another one that is heavily used in more masculine fragrances, and the one that stands head and shoulders above everything for me, one of my favorite perfumes, is from Hermès, Jean-Claude Heléna's Equipage Geranium. Now, this captures everything good about a geranium smell in that it has that like really kind of light rosy characteristic, but twisted with some citrus facets and spice. That's what makes a geranium for me. It's like a lighter, spicier rose that highlights sharpness that you might get with some citrus notes like lemon as well. This in here is paired with other spices. There is pepperiness in this. There's probably quite a bit of clove in this on a base of blonde woods, and it's just a beautiful, minimalistic, magnificent perfume, Equipage Geranium. Okay, so the next floral note I want to talk about is Carnation. Now, Carnation, from what I understand in most modern perfumes, is basically an accord that's put together by a bunch of different other ingredients. And usually it consists of some rose isolates combined heavily with eugenol, which is found in things like clove, and which is why a Carnation accord usually is paired with clove or has clove characteristics and has that lovely rosy. It's warmer than something like a geranium, and it has a bit more depth to it. And the two that I want to talk about first of all are one from Guerlain. This is Louis. This one here is a carnation that is paired with the creamiest, almost booziest benzoin note that I have smelled, and together with the carnation creates this kind of really luxurious creamy leather accord in the base. And again, this one is a fairly simple perfume, but it's just quite magical the way this wears on my skin and really highlights the beautiful soft side of carnation. Another way carnation is paired beautifully is with tobacco, and that is from Caron's Tabac Blonde. This is a current formulation, and I can't speak to any vintages and what they smelled like, but in this formulation I still get that carnation, and as opposed to something like Louis, there is this kind of sharper, browner tobacco note that goes with it. This is, in some ways, Tabac Blonde is a little bit more aggressive than Louis is, and it's interesting because this originally was marketed to women when it first came out, but it's so easily worn by anybody, and has a little bit of attitude, which I really love about Tabac Blonde. All right, so the next floral note I want to talk about is specifically orange blossom, and there are differences between orange blossom and neroli and petitgrain and all those floral things that come from an orange tree or various types of orange trees, and it's a bit hard to work out what's what when you're looking at note pyramids and things like that. But there are a couple of perfumes where that list orange blossom, and they have a distinct character for me compared to something like neroli based perfumes. Orange blossom to me is a lot more, has a bit more of an indolic character, and at times can get creamier, a little bit more animalic. And my favorite orange blossom at the moment, and one of my favorite perfumes at the moment, is Séville à l'Aube by L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is a perfume that is paired, let's see where I can spray it. I mean, the orange blossom is there, but it's also got this gorgeously ripe orange juice aspect to it as well, and it's also paired with lavender. And the lavender provides this greenness as well. In the dry down, it gets kind of creamier and even a little bit sweeter. Incense comes in. It's just, I find this to be a completely magical perfume, but it's not to everybody's taste, so I've found out. Now, there is another perfume that also features orange blossom, but I'm going to talk about a different floral note here, and that is the note of heliotrope. And I know that in modern perfumery, probably more often than not, the synthetic heliotrope is used, but for me, when I smell heliotrope, it's all about this kind of soft floral fluffiness, cloudiness, pillowy, billowy, and it's definitely got this kind of, I guess, pinky purple color to me, the heliotrope does. And it is in a couple of my favorite perfumes, and it's about as much as I can handle, because heliotrope, along with things like violet and iris, can give this kind of talky, powdery effect. And when you hear people talk about powdery perfumes, there's a good chance that heliotrope is probably one of the ingredients. So The first one I'll talk about, this is a beautiful combination of Heliotrope and Orange Blossom with a beautiful base of musks. This is Helmut Lang's Eau de Parfum. This is a 2014 version, and I believe now discontinued. So I was very happy to pick up a full bottle of this recently. And the other one that features Heliotrope heavily, even more so than that Helmut Lang, is from Laboratorio Olfativo. This is Cache Noir, and this is Heliotrope paired with benzoin. So you can imagine how soft, sweet, pillowy and cloudy this perfume is. It does, people say that it reminds them of Shalimar. I don't know which version of Shalimar, but not being an expert on Shalimar, I can't really confirm or deny that it does, but I do enjoy it. This is one of the coziest winter fragrances that I have in my wardrobe. Okay, so when it comes to rose, there were a few options that I could have chosen for this video, but I want to talk about this particular perfume because as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the more unique roses that I have. There's no rose and patchouli, there's no oud note in sight. This is La Mat from Menditorosa. Now, this rose is, I'm not going to say it dominates the fragrance. I mean, to me, there is obvious rose in this fragrance, but when you pair this with, there is a sweet clove in this fragrance. It's like an almost, there is something that I've always smelled in this perfume that's reminded me of an Italian festive cake called panettone. I think it's that sweetness that's coming from the clovey aspect, as well as immortelle. It's like taking a bunch of deep red rose petals at their prime and sprinkling it on a hot pan full of roasting cloves, and then just smelling that caramelization that comes from those petals warming up, and maybe the cloves burning a little bit. It's just like nothing I have smelled before, and it's totally unique, and I love having a La Mat in my wardrobe to wear whenever I want. So the final floral note that I want to talk about is Jasmine. Now, Jasmine is a little bit difficult for me, and I would imagine a lot of guys who are probably like haven't done a lot of testing and trying out of perfumes. Jasmine might be something that they've found probably a little bit challenging to wear. I know it's been one of those notes where it's very difficult for me to find something that I feel comfortable wearing that's jasmine heavy. So I want to talk about a couple. Now, this one here is the Decay of the Angel. This perfume has, I think the reason why I love this is that the jasmine here is almost reminding me of like jasmine that's been picked, maybe sitting in a small vase of water, and that has been sitting there for maybe a few days, and it's just starting to wilt at the end of its fragrant life, and it just is right on the edge. So it still smells like jasmine, but it smells like dying jasmine, and it's paired with cade, which gives this kind of distant forest smokiness that wafts in and mixes with that jasmine, and it's totally intoxicating and quite a haunting perfume. And the other perfume I want to mention with what I believe is jasmine, because I can't find confirmation that jasmine is used in here, and that is Musk Tonkin from Parfum d'Empire. Now, This is all about the musk, obviously, but if you wear this and smell this, there is an unmistakable floral accord in here, and one that smells a lot to me, like specifically a lot of indolic jasmine in here that mixes so well with the musk. And I'm sure that there are other things in there as well. Now, honorable mentions, because I don't actually have bottles of these perfumes, but I did want to mention if you're looking for a lovely violet note, yes, there are a lot of great violet perfumes. A violet is something that these days is usually made with the aroma chemical ionones, and one that I specifically wanted to mention was Hermes Kirdange. That is a beautiful clean suede, but it's softened up with the most delicate, beautiful, light, ethereal violet as well. And osmanthus is another floral note that I want to talk about, because I've recently tried 2 perfumes that feature osmanthus in the 2 main facets of osmanthus for me. I get leather, a leathery aspect, and one to try if you can get your hands on it, because I was lucky to be sent a sample from a friend of this particular one, but I can't buy this perfume because they don't ship to Australia and there are no retailers. But this is Osmanthus Noble from Exaltatum Perfumes. I think I pronounced that correctly. That has some beautiful leathery aspects of the osmanthus flower. And the other one, which highlights, accentuates peachiness, apricot, nectar facets, is from Heliotrope Perfumes, which I still have a sample of, and this is called Playa Linda. This one is a completely summery, feel-good, juicy take on osmanthus as well. So they're 2 to check out if you're looking to explore. So that's my favorite floral video done. Thanks for the tag, Andreas, and I look forward to seeing everybody else. Bye.